Hi, everybody. So Kelley and I are here together today, and Kelley is a brilliant astrologer. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things, and we're going to dispel some of the fear that people have been having about the eclipse that's coming. But there's a whole lot of stuff happening. And I got that this was a 3-week period of very intense energy that is going to be changing a lot of things in the world, but also activating us. So let's kind of dispel some of the drama around the eclipse first, and then we'll get into all the stuff because there's so many things, you guys. I really, the eclipse, to me, a lot of things have been mentioned, like rockets and CERN and drama, and what's going to happen is at the end of the world, right? It is we're every single day the old world is dying more and more and more. So remember that, and also tune into all these events that are all happening at one time, and whether it's on the same day or in the same time period, there's a lot of change happening. And that is death and rebirth. And if you think about the eclipse itself, it's a black hole, just like the birth canal. So what's going to happen? Like, it's going to be bright and sunny, then black, and then bright and sunny again. So we are going through a rebirth process. So Kelley, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm in totality here. We're going to be in totality. And I'm going to be helping host an event in this beautiful venue on Lake Champlain where we're going to have a gorgeous view. And, we just had just had a 16-inch snowstorm, but that's going to be all gone by Monday. And so being in totality, we're going to do a deep shamanic journey, basically, with sound healing and anointing oils. And that's a beautiful way because, this eclipse has so many factors to it. There's so many storylines about it, as you were saying. But, we want to focus in on some of the ones that are the positive ones. And that is such what this eclipse is about. It's about keeping really clear with your energy in relation to everything else. And, the clearer we are, we can really get to the highest timeline that we possibly can. And that's, kind of the job. That's the invitation right now, I think, of this eclipse.
Exactly. Like controlling your own rebirth and really working with the universe to end up on your highest timeline. So
yeah, I
there's a
would use the
lot
word
of,
man.
oh, go ahead. What?
Yeah. Well, the universe is in control. So I think it's about managing, it's about being receptive to how that energy wants to move through you in the highest way and being, like self-control to some extent there.
Self-control of your own thoughts, like, because there's a lot of barrage of weird fear stories that are coming in. And really saying, no, that's not in my timeline is going to be in your highest good. So that's what I mean by control. So minding your thoughts when it comes to this, because we just did a show about how important your thoughts are, and they really are. That is how the universe was created. So step into your power, I guess is what I want to say. Use it in a wise way for your own highest good. Yeah.
That's exactly what this Pluto sign change is about. Pluto's about claiming your power or giving it away. And so this is part of the new invitation here in this new era. And this is like a doorway through to the level of whatever we are co-creating with the most positive energy we can bring to it that, is generated from the heart and the soul. And, calm down the mind, let the mind listen in to these other, the heart intelligence for one thing.
Right. And the comet that has come in, which is already here, is like it seems like it's about a 3-week thing. And I keep getting 3 weeks. It's a 3-week period of intensity. And that comet is called the Devil's Comet, but there is no devil. So what is that really? To me, that comes right from source. It's a sign, and it's a clearing too. It's clearing things. And it's a green, like it's a green comet, I guess, at the front. And to me, it reminded me of the cartoon, The Green Lantern, and that movie, and how things get like taken care of because they have this green light. So there's a lot of interesting things going on. And I want to talk about the things that you had come to me with because they're really good. So I'm excited to hear about Chiron and Andromeda. And is it Manwe from Tolkien?
Manwe,
Manwe.
yeah,
Manwe.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a lot. It's it's a different storylines. So I'm offering more storylines, but these are mythic and these are relevant to the eclipse. So yeah. So do you want me to talk about some first and then share images, or start with images?
Or you can share them as you go if you have them, if they relate to the thing that you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So first of all, there's Mercury's retrograde. And people go, Mercury retrograde, awful things are going to happen. My car's going to break down, et cetera, which can happen. Yep, on the day, I did have a flat tire on the highway, but it all worked out. And you got to keep up with things lately. This Aries energy is very, stay on it, be ready, take the initiative to respond the best you can. And that is based on keeping your energy really clear. So Mercury retrograde. Yeah, let me share this image of Mercury retrograde, which, is from my coloring book.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So there it is. There's Mercury retrograde, and it is it shows how, Mercury goes around the sun really fast. I mean, in the astronomical model we're using, which may or may not be true, but let's talk about it this way. And it doesn't get too far from the sun. So we don't even see it very often because it doesn't get very far from the sun. And then it has to go back around the other side of the sun. And so it looks like it's going in the other direction from our point of view. And so we need these pause points because Mercury moves fast. It's like the mind. It's like the mind moves really fast from one thought to another. If you watch your mind, it's like, 5 minutes can cover a lot of territory. So Mercury slows down seemingly, and then it turns around for 3 weeks, a 3-week retrograde period, which is from April 1st to the 25th this time. And it encompasses this peak point in the year, which includes this eclipse. These are, apart from Pluto changing sign, April has the 2 biggest events of the whole entire year, and the eclipse is one of them. And then on the 20th, we have an alignment of Jupiter and Uranus, which I'll talk more about, but this is also a pretty big. Jupiter is big. Jupiter is the biggest planet. So whenever it's touching something, it makes it even bigger, and Uranus is about the collective consciousness shift that we're in the middle of. So it's going to change things even more. This is going to be one of those dates where the ripple effect of the eclipse we're not going to miss it. Something big is happening right around that time, if not that specific date. there might be other, interesting date activations, and that would be like when the moon is like in Scorpio or Taurus, and that will be the next full moon, actually. So when the moon is full, that's going to be an activation date too. And that is the 23rd of April. So there is just a lot of dynamics that suggest unexpected developments, like mind-blowing things. The eclipse is one mind-blowing thing. And then the Uranus is expect the unexpected, and Jupiter's making a big one. So that's part of it. So, here's the kind of Mercury retrograde thing. And Mercury went retrograde conjunct Eris. Now, Eris is when Eris was discovered, and it has an orbit of 500 plus years. So it's pretty far out. That's when astronomers like recategorized Pluto, and like made it a dwarf planet, because there are all these new objects in the farther solar system, and this Eris is one of them. So she was originally nicknamed Xena for that television show with the warrior woman who was a healer and all of that. And Eris has that undertone for sure, but she's also a troublemaker in the sense that, hey, people, you need to deal with this. So let's get it on the table here, and she's famous for throwing that apple into the feast on Mount Olympus that made the goddesses kind of fight with each other to figure out who is the fairest. And then that ended up leading to the Trojan War. But it's like, it's exposing things. She's like, hey, we got to deal with this. You can't go beyond this point without kind of addressing these issues. And I think that's what we're going to see this month too, with a lot of exposure, with a lot of secrets coming out, with a lot of and this is not an easy thing to contend with. This kind of, like truth speakers, get shut down a lot. And this is who she is. So this Mercury retrograde goes back over things. It's like, okay, we've gotten far enough. We got to connect the dots again. We got to look back to where we've been in the last little while here and kind of, rethink it. So that's the basic way to think about Mercury retrograde, rethink. And also editing your mind, like we were talking about, controlling your mind, controlling your thoughts, controlling the words you're using, being very vigilant, about our habits, our mental habits, which can be very negative, and the negative speak we do to ourselves. And it's like, this is like Eris is saying, that's not who you are. Don't think that way. This is get clear, crystal clear with your thoughts, and change any of the negative. I don't know. I've been really having to go through a lot of my own, kind of fears or anxieties, about presenting an event on the eclipse in the middle of totality. They're expecting thousands of people into Vermont, and the traffic snarls and whatever. And it's like, it's going to be fine. This is going to be quite exquisite, actually. I wasn't even going to be in Vermont for that. I didn't want to go there, but here I am. And so that's what I'm doing. And so that kind of thing. So that's a big piece that is about internalizing our thoughts, to be vigilant about them, and to reframe any negative thinking, which, we have a lot of, but we don't even notice.
Yeah.
So notice it.
Well, and that's what all these purges are too. Like, it's helping us bring things to the surface. But with her, and we can see it happening, there's so much being brought to the surface right now. People are like in shock, I think, a lot of people, by how much is actually coming to the surface right now. And that's just going to continue and get bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this Mercury retrograde is also kind of connecting with Pluto with that undertone of what you were talking about as death and rebirth, and about the times that we're in and moving into, all the stuff that is just going out the door, all the stuff that is being exposed is also being dealt with. And we have to do our part with that too.
Yeah.
The collective is made up of all of our energy. So, and we don't even need to know certain things, but we need to heighten our vibration.
Exactly. I love that. So tell us about
Yeah,
Andromeda. I'm excited about that.
oh,
Actually. Yeah.
oh, Andromeda. So I got to thinking the other day, and I hadn't really been, because I've been focusing on the eclipse itself, which has, the degree of the eclipse is at 19 Aries. But we have this backdrop of fixed stars that also have meaning that the planets kind of invite in. And so the eclipses are aligned with the dragons, the dragon head and the dragon tail, that are where the path of the moon intersect with the path of the sun, and where we see eclipses happen. They're always near the nodes. And sometimes it's the south node, which is the dragon tail, which was the last full moon that we talked about. And this one is the dragon head. So this is, where we want to be riding the dragon. But it is, and it's also a sun dragon eclipse. So, and the year of the dragon. So dragons are big. So the degree of the north node, the dragon head, is at 15 Aries, which is right next to where, if we were going to project the zodiac into the sky, the star that marks the head of Andromeda, Alpheratz, would be at 14 degrees. So the leading edge of this eclipse, which is the dragon head, and the leading edge of collective consciousness right now, is definitely about riding the dragon. And the myth of Andromeda involves a lot of constellations in the sky, a really big swath of the sky. And so the head of Andromeda in the sky matches up with, is one of the stars in the great square of Pegasus that a lot of people know, because it's a big, kind of rectangle of stars in the sky that are about the Pegasus, the flying horse. So we've got the flying horse, but we've also got this dragon, because her story has to do with the sea monster. And that the sea monster is creating a lot of storms and tsunamis and floods and earthquakes and volcanic activity. And the king and queen, Cassiopeia and Cepheus, two constellations, are told to sacrifice Andromeda to the sea monster. So amidst much sorrow and wailing, they chain her to a rock down on the seashore, and she's called the Chained Princess. And so this is one myth I've been really thinking through and revisioning for a couple of decades now. And hopefully I'll get to write it up. It's about Andromeda and her being sacrificed. And what is that about? And can we unchain Andromeda? And this eclipse is saying this is the time. We can do this.
Yeah.
So, in the myth, there she is being chained to a rock. She's supposedly naked, wearing all these jewels. And Perseus, who just cut off the head of Medusa and stuffed it into a bag, is flying, he's either on his winged sandals or he's flying on the Pegasus, the flying horse, and he's heading home, and he goes over and he sees this beautiful maiden chained to a rock, and he sees the sea dragon coming. And so he swoops down and saves her. That's the myth, and kills the monster. with
Yeah.
using the head of Medusa, which turns the monster to stone. So some years ago, I was involved with a mythic drama group, and we changed the story. We had Andromeda holding the bag for Perseus, and then Perseus is being overcome by the monster. So she takes the head out of the bag and she turns the monster to stone. So that's a telling of some of these myths that we have to look at sometimes, especially the Greco-Roman ones that we are kind of, culturally so influenced by and are not especially, kind of woman empowered. So that we have this powerful Eris energy, telling the truth, really challenging us, looking us right in the eye. And then we have, Medusa, who tends to look in the eye too, and be like, turns us to stone. So there's this freeing up of the power of the feminine to maybe ride the dragon.
Yeah.
So
Which we are.
yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. What I love is that Andromeda is becoming free, but that also means that the heart space is becoming free, because the Andromedans, the ETs from there, they're very heart-based. So it also like comes through that that's going to be part of it. And we have to remember that the astral plane is where everything starts, and then it comes here. And that's how we got all this stuff. Like, that's how the clock was created, is from the astral plane's point of view, and to create time, which
May I
doesn't
ask,
exist in
may I
this.
ask you a question? I have a question in relation to that. So, my view is that, there's earth, air, fire, and water, and ether is the fifth element.
Yeah.
And that ether is like the whole, kind of spaciousness of the all that is the true matrix of our universe, and that it connects everything, and that things emerge from the ether, from the non-physical into the physical.
Yeah.
So how does that relate to the astral?
So the astral plane is the non-physical. So that's where all the souls come together.
Oh.
And the astral plane is where we plan, where we go at night, where we exit the matrix to go and do planning for the game, the learning game that we're in. So I think this whole this whole construct was created for learning, and we had to have stability. And I think that's why astronomy and the stars were created, to give stability, like why they were given so much meaning, because it also gives like the souls a chance to say, okay, well, all of this is happening right now all at once. And that means we're coming to an ending and a rebirthing. So to me, it's like it was created to be this way at this time. And we've been flipping through so many parallels and so many constructs. Maybe in a lower parallel, this isn't even going on in the same way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not in the same. Well, another comment about the Mercury retrograde, when it goes back over things, we can get more clear about it. We can revisit it. We can kind of pick up where we made some mistakes and kind of rework that. And also, this rebirth is also part of the impact of Manwe.
Oh, great.
So
Yeah.
So if we want to go on to
Yeah,
Manwe,
let's see that.
Mon so this is a complicated slide, but it's because when we're talking about Manwe, we must also talk about Varda. They are the Shiva Shakti on this level. And so these are two characters in Tolkien's prehistory of Middle Earth, prehistory, like way back of the creation itself. And it's given at the beginning of a collection of his work that was published after he died, called The Silmarillion. And a lot of that TV show that has a lot of those different stories, I guess there was something on Netflix that had, some of the, kind of Tolkien stories from older times are taken from the Silmarillion. Very complex mythology and storylines all over, from the creation and then the world of these high beings, and then the world of the elves, and then the world of the humans, and all of that. So he goes way back, and this is at the very beginning when the creator creates angels and the archangels. And there's like a circle of angels around the throne of God, sort of thing, however we want to look at that. And these archangelic beings start singing one by one, and then it turns into a choir, and they're kind of just evoking this music, and that stimulates in the mind of the creator the world. And he starts like imagining the world, and that some of the top 14 of these archangelic beings get really excited about this and want to go experience it, and they get to the world or whatever energy is showing up, in the beginning, and realize they have to create it. They have to create that vision. And Manwe was the one closest to the mind of God. So he held the vision really clearly of God's intention, the creator's intention for the world. And Varda they were a pair, and they were always together. And she was the light bringer. She created the stars in the sky to welcome the elves into the world when it was their time. She created magic trees of gold and silver that gave light and a kind of rhythm to the day. She put the sun and the moon in the sky when it was time for that. So she's the light bringer, and she's like incredibly beautiful. She's the star lady, beloved of the elves. And so this pair were, the top two, and then there were other ones that were, the goddess of the earth, the god of the water, and then there was the fallen angel who was very powerful, and he became the evil one in the Lord of the Rings. And he couldn't create. He was jealous of the creator because the creator could recreate, and the fallen angel could not create, could only destroy what had been created or create a distorted version. And so periodically he would destroy the world, and that they would have to recreate, and it would be the next phase of the earth. So there's that death and rebirth cycle on a very vast, almost timeless, because whenever time came in, the storyline could unfold. But these Manwe right now, and these you can see where your Manwe is. This is a slide I use for teaching, and these are like 300-year orbits and more. They're farther out than Pluto, so they're broader. And so, you can kind of see where your Manwe is down there. And so Manwe right now is in the sign of Aries, just went into Aries a couple of years ago, transitioning from Pisces into Aries. Now, Aries is like the first sign of the zodiac. It's the newness, it's the originality, it's the new take on things, which is where we're going. And so Manwe crossed that Aries point, which is a very big deal in astrology. The Aries point, it's like the a key point. It's like the fresh point, the newness, the seed, and so that Manwe went across that. And my understanding of this, the way I think about it is, so Manwe, closest to the mind of God, knows the original codes and is bringing them back at this point. And during this eclipse, Manwe is with the planet Venus. So there's this beauty aspect that Venus always brings in, where he's bringing back the beauty, the harmony, really enhancing the light of the divine feminine.
Yep. And the love.
The love. Yes. Yeah.
This is good. So when I talked about the Lord of the Rings, I don't know, years ago on YouTube, a couple years, I got that it was the history of Inner Earth. So he was basically channeling in that history. And this is totally channeled because it rings very true. And if you read the Law of One, you'll also get more clues to this. It's kind of amazing to me how many times the truth has been told and we have not seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is an origin story, a creation story. And it's so beautiful. And yeah, I've thought of, how the elves, took a ship and went west beyond. So I'm wondering if it's beyond the Antarctic wall, that, the wall, that's where the elves went, on the other side of the ice wall.
Yeah. And I feel like he had some knowledge of what was going on, Tolkien did. Whether it was just esoteric and coming into him, or he actually knew some of the things because he was in colleges all the time where a lot of stuff was being hidden in, secret groups and stuff. But he really revealed so much, and that's why it was so important to everybody. And when the hippies were running around the cities in the subways and writing "Free Frodo" or whatever it was, I think it was "Free Frodo," or "We won" and stuff like that. Like, they were running around doing that because they were so inspired by this work. And because that was one of the points where we were ramping up to ascension. We could have ascended during the hippie time, but people weren't quite ready. And the energy wasn't quite ready, just like we weren't quite ready when Jesus was here. So we really are in an amazing time because we're finally doing it. It's happening. Yeah.
When the Lord of the Rings movies came out was the same time as the Harry Potter stuff came out. That affected a generation really profoundly, those two things. I think of people born, around in the early 90s as, the Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings generation. And also that the astronomers named two of these objects out there in the solar system for fictional characters is pretty amazing, actually. Somebody must have been, one of the astronomers on the team must have been a really big Tolkien fan. So and then we have to look at Varda. We cannot, talk about Manwe without Varda. So Varda, if you remember back a couple of years, I want to say 2020, solstice December 2020, the week before that, it might have been 21, but I think it was 20. There was a total solar eclipse at 23 Sagittarius, and Varda was exactly aligned with that total eclipse on solstice. And she was at 23 Sagittarius. And to me, she rode in on that eclipse. She really came right through. She like took a surfboard right along the Milky Way and came right in. And then a couple of years later, so we're a little past the point, she aligned at 26 Sagittarius, which, if we're again, kind of overlaying the zodiac on more things farther away, that is where we'd have to go right through 26 Sagittarius, where the tip of the Sagittarian arrow is, to go to the galactic center, the heart of our Milky Way, where there's this black hole, where there is this in the sea of potential that you were just aligning with this eclipse, and where the Shiva Shakti dance, and that's where we are aligned with that galactic center as of 2012 more closely than we've been in thousands of years. And Varda rode right on through the light bringer, bringing a new form of light, a new quality of light, a new frequency of light from the galactic center.
Yeah, it's so cool, because also there's a window of time that is the ascension window, and when people are deciding to ascend and also ramping up, and we're at 2027 is kind of when it closes, and I think that's a little bit liquid, as far as like when is it going to happen in 2027 that the window closes. But those 3 years in between 2027 and 2030, they are going to be so amazing, because we're actually going to have total push towards the golden age right then. Like it just really is amazing what's going on.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a lot of fun right now.
Astrologically, what's happening is the Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune are what we call the outer planets. They were only discovered in the 17, 18, and 1900s. Pluto was discovered in 1930. Not even 100 years have we seen Pluto. So these are like generational planets. Pluto's in a sign from between 12 and 20, 30 years. Uranus is in a sign for 7 years. And Neptune's in a sign for 14 years. So first of all, they define, generational agendas in terms of how we are here to help the collective consciousness evolve. And they don't change sign very often. So this, this year, basically, Pluto's changing sign. And even in the summer, Neptune gets to the very end of Pisces and almost goes into Aries, but says, wait a minute, not yet. So Neptune changes sign next year, 2025, and into a bit of 2026. Yeah. Actually, January 2026, it's in Aries for the next 14 years. And then starting in the summer of 2025, Uranus is changing sign. And so all 3 of these outer planets that are the signs of the times and talk about the quality of our collective experience are all changing sign, like dum, dum, dum. Yeah. And that's one of the indications that we're going to have these planets in a totally different combination than we have had. So it's going to be so different, by then. Right. And then, whatever unfolds with that combination of energy that is largely moving from Earth to air, and from water to fire. That's a really different elemental combination. The earth and the water, which we're mainly in now, Pluto's changing, are feminine elements, whereas fire and air are masculine elements. So, thankfully, the divine masculine is arising to join the divine feminine. And so it's going to be very different, very, very different.
Yeah, very different. Well, and it's the time of the Phoenix too. So you have that air and fire energy uniting, and another rebirth is happening right now. And there is a masculine and feminine side to the Phoenix. And the Phoenix doesn't just look like a bird, it also looks a little bit like a dragon.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, just kind of being in fun, in watching, in enjoying what's happening right now. I feel like that's the way to be, in wonder, like you're watching a beautiful thing unfold in front of you. That's what we're doing right now. And we have gone through a lot of stress, and every year it's getting better. So keep looking forward to it. Just we're peeling away more and more layers that we don't want anymore. So pretty soon you're going to get to the heart of it, and it's going to feel so good. And I mean, I'm already there. Like, I'm so happy in comparison to like 2 years ago or even a year ago, because I can see how much of this is coming together, and how we have so many signs from those big souls and the universe that are helping to create this for humanity. It's amazing.
Well, and eclipse is one of those points. And I want to bring up one more slide here.
Sure.
That's another cosmic couple. And this is Chiron, the wounded healer. We've mentioned him before. And he's the teacher healer, half horse, half man, part God. He's quite extraordinary. He's a master teacher healer. It's a shamanic energy, because Chiron wants to align the spiritual, mental, and emotional, the spiritual, the spirit, mind, and body, basically. And so it often will activate what is not in alignment. And Chiron is exactly aligned with this eclipse. Exactly. So part of the buildup to the eclipse is we're doing a lot of healing. We're really needing to align, and our bodies are telling us where there's static, where there's interference, where there's not alignment, where there are old, who knows, past life scars in our body, or traumas, the stuff that we're carrying. And it's like Chiron is helping us, like, do whatever we have to do to kind of get clear with ourselves. And that is sometimes shifting a lot of relationships, shifting our diet, shifting so many things toward clarity. So Chiron is right aligned with this eclipse. So this eclipse is a shamanic journey.
Yeah.
And then Chiron has a partner who is Chariklo. Chariklo and Chiron are in a really nice alignment right now, and she helps to hold the energy for the highest outcome. And she's in Aquarius right now. So she can, be doing this in groups, in kind of an alignment of how do we all kind of help hold the energy for that highest outcome. She's a shapeshifter. She went from being a river mermaid, which we see here, and she shapeshifted into a centauress, half woman, half horse, so she could be with Chiron and help him through his wounded healer time frame. And then she helped him translate into his star body and go into the stars. And so she basically, her theme in my mind is, whatever form best serves love.
Yep.
So holding the energy for the highest outcome, and there she is during this eclipse, holding that energy for us to move into a new paradigm, basically. This is Aries. This is a new paradigm. And people born, in let's see, when was it? Let's see if I have that written here in a handy way. So Chiron has been in Aries. It has an irregular orbit. That's why it's hard for me to kind of, get it together.
Good.
But it's in Aries longer, which means it's farther away. And so if you're like right around the age of 50, you're having Chiron return to where it was when you were born. And that's why that age is such an important age to turn. So be happy at 50. Don't, it's like you're operating on all cylinders in a way you could not have done before, because you've excavated a lot of past life stuff that, you'd had to take care of to kind of really bring your life to the potential, and your own special gifts forward. And we're all experiencing that right now. With Chiron in this eclipse, it's opening a door to again, whatever highest timeline we can get to, and to bring this clear, crystal clear energy, in, and a paradigm shift, both in our minds and in our experience. And you often talk, honey, about our minds haven't been ready to see what's already happening. And this could be that window, because the light goes out, the movie ends, and then a new movie emerges.
Yeah, we could see some really amazing things in the month of April. And I feel like a lot of people may experience seeing some things if they don't wear those glasses. I feel like there's a lot of stuff up there that we're not seeing, because it's almost like we're seeing a projector or a projection. So it's going to be really exciting, and I look forward to it. Like, this stuff is fun at this point, and it's not scary anymore. And when something scary comes up or is presented to me, I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want, so I'm going to let that go right now. And you can have it if you want it, but I don't want it. So it's like, if you don't want to eat your peas, then don't eat them. Just say no. And we really don't realize how easy it is to say goodbye to something that is not the best for us.
No, they're saying that, especially in the zone of totality, the sun, it's going to be so dark that we can see Venus and Mars and Saturn and maybe even Mercury and maybe even the comet. So it'll be that dark, not many places, but in the totality. And I'll tell you later.
Yeah, I think that's Texas mostly, right?
Well, I'm in totality here in Vermont. We've got totality and
Nice.
a long window, almost 4 minutes. And so the path of totality, goes somewhat from Mexico through Texas, through, all the way up through a bunch of states, gets to Vermont, goes into Maine, and goes into Nova Scotia. So, and we have almost 4 minutes of totality here, which is extra long. So
that's awesome. You could see all kinds of stuff.
We'll see.
I'm excited to hear about that. Because I know we're not getting totality here in Colorado.
Yeah, I think
it's like 3/4.
65%.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So 2/3 maybe, but still, it's going to be effects, and we're all going to feel it. But the zone of totality, I don't know, like, does something with the earth? It's like the magnetic field, or the something where its total gets affected, the Earth responds in some way. It's almost like the Earth rises up to seek the eclipse or be pulled through that black hole or, whatever. But there's
Probably a
this
lot of
renewal.
energy is going
Yeah.
that isn't
And a
needed
lot,
anymore. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what Rudolf Steiner said.
Oh
He
yeah, let's read
said,
that.
yeah, so he said a lot of things, but one of them about the eclipse was, it's a rare thing. And so the rays of the sun penetrate down to the earth. And during an eclipse, the rays of will stream out to meet the sun. I mean, that's always true. So we're meeting the sun. But the eclipses are like safety valves because what he says, okay, I'm going to read this. Under normal conditions, the evil impulses of will, which are negative thought forms, are sent out to the cosmos by human beings and are burned up and consumed by the rays of the sun, so they can only injure the man himself and can do no universal harm. However, when there is an eclipse of the sun, opportunity is given for the evil which is willed on earth to spread over the cosmos. An eclipse is an event behind which there lies a significant spiritual reality. He calls them safety valves, that it can release some of that energy that uh,
Builds up.
serves the purpose of carrying into space. Yes, the
Mm-hmm.
buildup, so that it's released.
Yeah.
And that it's not so concentrated here. It's released out and the universe can deal with it, kind of thing. So it's
Yeah.
like a safety valve. That's an interesting term to use.
Well, it can be transmuted very easily. It's just, I don't think that humanity has known that. So it doesn't get transmuted that easily, the energy of it, because everything is energy. There was a
Yeah.
huge layer of energy that was released the night before last. And
Ooh.
a lot of
Oh, no
people
wonder
had,
I couldn't sleep.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of bad dreams, a lot of um like scary feeling dreams and movie-like dreams. Like it was almost like, for me, I had a dream where I was almost like looking on a crime show, watching some show about crime. And I feel like it was the energy of people whose brains have kind of gone into a loop of crime. And we were releasing that energy as earthlings out of our system. And if you think about it, a lot of this is layers too. So
Yeah.
we've worked
Yes.
through Egypt a lot, but there may be more layers. We're working through these layers of unhappiness, unhappy feelings
Yeah.
and kind of the polarity of those times. But it was basically the psychosis, I feel like, that we released. People who repeat their offenses all the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
So it
Yeah,
was
there is one of
really
these new
beautiful.
Kuiper belt objects. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got to break the agreement so we get off the wheel of
Yeah.
repeating our same mistakes. That's what I said earlier about, Mercury going back over things and, it can bring more realizations and then a
Mhm.
way, to pop that bubble and bring more light in. Mm.
Yeah. It was so good.
Oh, so
Oh, go ahead.
let's talk about a little bit more about the Jupiter Uranus before we end, because that's
Okay.
on April 20th in this 3 weeks, and it's in the sign of Taurus, which is about, reality, like
Mm-hmm.
earthiness, like embodiment. And Uranus is saying, and it's about Earth, it's about earthquakes, it's about the instability, the changes that the Earth herself is going through that's affecting us all. So we really need to be in our bodies so we can feel how the earth is moving and we can dance with her. So that's been going on since 2019 or so. But this Jupiter is amplifying. Now, this also has to do, Taurus has a lot to do with physicality, with values, with money, resources. So part of it is about developing more self-sufficient resources and looking at our food, looking at the quality of the, the ground, the earth, so this is about changing that and becoming more aware of it. But it is also very much connected to the financial system, which is obviously in the middle of changing.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is going to be a big, we're not going to miss it. This is going to be a big date in relation to the economic shift and new systems, what systems that are going away and the new systems that are coming in relation to our financial well-being and our, how we deal with, materiality and material goods and exchange. So that's a big date in relation to that. And it's a big date in terms of our embodiment, because some people are having trouble staying in their bodies. Do you
Yeah.
think so?
A lot of people are floaty right now because there's so much energy changing. I feel like that is a great time to actually manifest in
Yes.
what you want that to feel like in your own life and how you can look out into the world and experience that everybody's abundant. So
Yes.
that would be a
Beautiful.
great day for me to, what day is that?
April 20th.
Okay.
And of course, it's like the eclipse. It's not just a one-day event. It's going
No.
to, but it is a turning point date. And then,
Yeah.
because it's like a new cycle of Jupiter and Taurus, it's like something like a 13-year cycle. But
So we'll
so
do
yeah,
an abundance thing
let's do it.
on that day. That would be
Yes.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the day to do it. I have, I have two little post-it notes up for myself. I never do this, but one of them is intention. And I think that has to do partly with this Aries eclipse. And also the next one is implement. And I put
Yes.
implement up first. And then I realized, okay, well, implement is based on an intention. So it's
Yeah.
like do the idea that's coming to you. So that's kind of how the eclipse brings up it's like something sparks over you. You have this idea, something new comes in, and then the Taurus is about manifesting it, making it, putting it into, it's a stability, but stability, is based on moving with the change as it emerges.
Right. Yeah, and that's how things have been happening. They've been emerging as we can handle them. So we are being pushed to the edge of what we can handle, but we are still handling it, and we're growing constantly right now. And it's really beautiful. So we can use that energy because so many people are going to be focused on that. We can use that to
Yes.
amplify it during that time. And I think that's a beautiful way to use the astrology to amplify what's going on and do it in a way that's beautiful for you. So that's exciting because April is the first part of the year in my mind. And to basically recreate what we're going to be doing, to create something new and positive, let's do that, you guys. Yeah.
It's a challenge. It's like, God, okay, but you can do it. You can do it. If the energy is so supportive of new initiatives, trying new things, doing something you've never done before, and seeing how it goes, because the path, there's an old, I think it's a Shaker saying, proceed as way opens. And when the way opens, proceed.
Right. Yeah. And I do see the eclipse as a doorway, and it's a sign that there is an opening and a rebirthing happening. So let's just keep going forward. And we have the astrology for a reason. Like, that was given to humanity for a reason. And that reason is so that we can go forward with the energies. And there's so many people focused on it. So even if you
Yes.
don't like,
Yes.
even if astrology is changing, which it is, it's going to change, because the sky may not be the same as what we think it is anymore, right? It may start to look different, but it's all about energy. So there's so much energy focused on these conjunctions and things that we can ride that and push that further as a group. So that's fun.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's like just an amazing time.
it is such a great time. Thank you so much, Kelley. This was great. A lot of fun with this conversation. And I would love to do one before or on April 20th. So we'll figure that out.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
that'll be a good lead up to the 20th, the full moon too coming up. The full
Yeah.
moon is all about Pluto, and let's not forget about Pluto. It's a big part of this backdrop in terms of the death and rebirth and the opening to a new, very new paradigm and era. So,
Yeah. I love that. This
oh, it's
was
so
so much fun.
fun.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thank
so
you.
much. And I'm going to have all of Kelley's information right below the video, you guys. Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Kelley. Bye,
bye.
everybody.